I am Mia Carter, standing at 28 years old in the enchanting Cloverfield Valley, a place where lush green hills embrace the sky, and the air is thick with the scent of blooming wildflowers. My family has always been the cornerstone of this charming little community, where everyone knows everyone and kindness flows like the gentle stream that cuts through the valley. Memories of laughter and love linger in every corner of our modest home. Those walls have embraced the joy of childhood and the warmth of familial bonds. My mother, with her kind heart, has always been the light in our lives, welcoming friends and strangers alike as though they were part of our family. The gentle spirit radiating from my father, a hardworking man, instilled values of perseverance and love. And then there's Lily, my younger sister, a wild spark of joy, always chasing her dreams, her laughter echoing like the chime of a bell, lifting the spirits of anyone within earshot. But beneath our serene exterior lies a dissonant undertone, a shadow threatening to eclipse the light that my family radiates, a shadow named Nathan. My elder brother, once the pride of our family and the epitome of joy, began to slip away, dragging some part of us with him. It started with small deviations. Mia, I met this guy at the park, he would say with enthusiasm. He's got connections. The innocence of excitement was evident in his voice, but my heart sank as I noticed the shift in his demeanor. A bad choice here, a questionable friend there, and before we knew it, the darkness engulfed him like smoke billowing from a chimney on a stormy night. I remember that night vividly, the air heavy with tension, laden with unspoken fears. Our home, warmed by a flickering lamp, felt colder than ever when he stumbled through the door, eyes glazed, body covered in bruises. "What happened to you?" I asked, my voice trembling between concern and confusion. Our mother gasped, her hand flying to cover her mouth, panic dancing in her big brown eyes. "It's nothing, Mia. Just a fight," Nathan mumbled, avoiding my gaze, and the storm inside me began to churn. "I'm fine, just tired." Tired? No, he wasn't just tired. I could see the fear etched in his features and could hear the shame straining his voice. How could he think he could hide this from us? "That's not fine, you can't keep doing this to yourself," I pleaded, trying desperately to reach him, grasping for the brother who used to teach me how to ride a bike and whisper secrets under the stars. "Why don't you just mind your own business?" he shot back, the venom dripping from his words. The sting of his refusal cut deeper than I wanted to admit. I felt lost and powerless, stuck between hope and despair, realizing that the deeper he fell into this dark pit, the more I felt like a storm was brewing within me. "Please, Nathan, just think about Mom. She's worried sick about you. We all are." I tried again, my heart racing, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on my shoulders. "She'll get over it," he growled, an edge creeping into his voice, as if his pain had transformed him into someone I no longer recognized. I stood there, grappling with the emotions swirling around me like leaves caught in a whirlwind, unable to comprehend the darkness he willingly embraced. I realized then that this could not just be a fleeting family crisis. It wasn't going to stop on its own. Each night, I watched the light dim in my mother's eyes, the laughter that once filled our home replaced by silence thick enough to cut with a knife. The heaviness of heartbreak settled upon our family like a fog, suffocating us. And as Nathan continued his descent into chaos, I felt a dagger plunge deeper and deeper into my heart. The reality hit hard. The boy I had grown up with was losing touch with the values we cherished, slipping further and further away from the family that loved him. I could not idly sit by, watching our family get torn apart by someone I desperately wanted to save from himself. I decided then that action was necessary. I had to face this chaos head-on. I began to unravel the twisting threads of despair that surrounded Nathan, convinced that beneath the darkness, there was still a flicker of the brother I loved. While I put on a brave face for my family, my internal thoughts raced, fear, determination, anguish, and something darker like a fire igniting within my chest. "Revenge," I whispered to myself in the stillness of night, feeling the weight of the word fall upon my shoulders like a cloak of steel. A dish best served cold, they say, but mine would not merely be a quest for vengeance. It needed to be a path toward restoration, a way to reclaim the honor we had built as a family. I began crafting my plan, each thread meticulously woven to ensure I would reach Nathan before losing him completely. It would not be easy, but I refused to think of failure. My heart raced as I sat in my room, scribbling down thoughts late into the night, trying to channel my emotions into a strategy. I couldn't just be a passive observer. I had to reclaim my brother, pull him back from the depths he was sinking into, just as my mother would try to save a wailing child. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, I felt my resolve strengthening. Nights spent awake, contemplating my next steps ingrained an insatiable need for a solution in my mind. My heart felt heavy with purpose. I was putting my trust in the family I had once found solace in, the very family Nathan was drifting from day by day. In moments I found courage, I envisioned Nathan's face before the descent, the smile, the laughter. I will bring him back, I reassured myself, whispering words of hope to drown the fears. "You can do this," I whispered, rousing my sister from her dreams of stardom late one evening, my eyes wide, fluid with excitement as I clutched the plans tightly in my hands, feeling the parchment soft against my extended palm. "What are you talking about, Mia?" Lily murmured sleepily, her silver hair tossed over her shoulders and her eyes still bleary with dreams. "It's late." "I swear I have an idea," I urged, sitting on the edge of her bed, desperation radiating from each word. "It's about Nathan. We need to intervene to remind him of what our family means. We're losing him, we can't let that happen." Her eyes widened like the full moon bursting through clouds, life sparking within. "What do you want to do?" she asked, pulling herself upright. "I'm going to make him remember," I said, determination lacing my voice. "I will show him that love runs deeper than the wrong path he's taken. But what if he doesn't respond?" She asked, her innocent concern thick with anxiety, unsure of how to support me. "Then we fight for him. We can't let him go without a battle. He's our brother, and no matter the darkness, we need to pull him back into the light," I declared, my spirit emboldened by the love I had for my family. "Okay," Lily exhaled, her determination matching mine as if she could see the glowing fire in my heart. "But this won't be easy," she cautioned, a tinge of fear creeping into her voice. "Nothing worth saving ever is," I replied resolutely, my mind racing with ideas, visualizing each step of this quest clearly. With each day that passed, the storm swirling inside me morphed into a guiding force. I tucked away my emotions into resilience, sharpening my strategy while nurturing sanctuary within my heart. I could hear my father's words resonating in my thoughts. "Together, we can weather any storm." This would become our mantra, our pact to restore the honor that had been shielding our home for years. And so, with the fall of dusk as my ally and determination piling within my heart, I felt the thirst for reclaiming Nathan swell stronger. "We can bring him back, and we will," I whispered into the night, a vow to the universe as I plotted my course to rescue my brother from the brink of darkness. The idyllic setting of Cloverfield Valley, once a backdrop for laughter and love, now became a battleground for my resolve. A serene silhouette against the raging tempest brewing in my heart, I stood in front of the warehouse, my heart racing like a freight train. The shadows clung to me, wrapping their fingers around my limbs as I felt the weight of that place settle over me. Graffiti marked the walls like trophies of a bygone era, bright colors fighting against the decay, yet they were a painful reminder of the life I had once hoped lay ahead for Nathan. This was his world now, a world filled with danger, deceit, and the allure of quick riches. As the wind whispered through the cracks in the structure, I found myself recalling the countless nights I spent alone, stirring in the depths of despair while nurturing the hope that somehow I could save him from himself. And there he was. Nathan approached slowly, glancing around as if expecting to find someone hiding in the corners, but no one else was present. I stood my ground, fighting the urge to retreat into the shadows where it might have felt safer. This was my moment to reach him, to bring him back from the brink. His confusion was palpable, a mask that barely concealed the storm brewing beneath. When his eyes met mine, I almost faltered. "What is this, Mia?" he demanded, his voice like gravel, roughened by a mixture of irritation and a hint of dread that lingered beneath the surface. "Nathan," I began, my voice trembling, a tight coil of fear and determination. "You need to listen to me. I found a way out for you." Even as the words tumbled out of my mouth, I felt the absurdity of the situation wash over me. Here I was, the sister he had always relied on, desperately trying to hoist him from a pit of his own making, his heart consumed by greed and his mind clouded by the temptations of others. "A way out? From what?" he shot back, his brow furrowing. "If this is about Dad and the past, I don't want to hear it. I've moved on." I could see the walls he was trying to build around his heart rise even higher. I had spent so long investigating, observing, and unraveling the threads of deceit that surrounded him. Yet in this moment, I felt like a mere traveler lost in a fog, grasping for clarity. "It's not about Dad," I pressed, desperation threading through my tone. "I'm talking about your involvement with those people, the debts you've buried yourself under. They won't let you go, Nathan. Please, just look at what they're using you for." As I spoke, I fished my phone out of my pocket, the device feeling like both a lifeline and a weight. I opened the video files, hoping he could see the depth of the betrayal and destruction through the eyes of the very people he had been entangled with. He stepped forward, peering at the screen. The harsh light illuminated the lines of anger on his face. "Why are you doing this?" he seethed, disbelief coursing through his veins. "You shouldn't have been snooping around. I can handle this myself." The anger simmering within him, I could sense, was partly directed at himself, though he fought to deflect it onto me. "But you're not handling it," I insisted, clenching my fists as if my physical stance could give my words weight. "You're playing with fire, Nathan. These are dangerous people." Suddenly, I was thrust back to the moments I had watched him laugh, the nights filled with his boundless optimism. "You were always the one who saw the world through a lens of light. You were going to be a doctor." That last word hung in the air like a ghost, the shards of his potential crashing around us. His expression flickered with disbelief. "A doctor, that was your dream for me." His voice rose, brimming with hurt. "I never asked you to live my life." The anguish in his eyes was a mirror of my own pain. "You're the one who doesn't understand what I'm doing. Life is more than just checking boxes on some stupid list. Do you think I wanted to end up back home with nothing to show for it?" My heart sank, feeling the tumultuous connection between us straining like an old rope fraying at the edges. "I don't want you to have nothing. I want you to have a future," I responded, forcing the words through clenched teeth. "It doesn't have to end this way, Nathan. You're slipping further into darkness. Can't you see what they are dragging you into?" I knew I had to tread carefully here. His ego was both wounded and fierce, a tangle of emotions I could barely navigate. He stepped back as if struck. "I don't need you or your pity, Mia. I can take care of myself." His frustration made my heart ache painfully, each word like a barb piercing through. The truth was, I could hardly recognize the brother I once adored. The shadows that loomed behind him, the cutthroat world of his associates, were devouring him in ways I couldn't fully articulate. I took a deep breath, trying to ground myself. "Nathan," my voice softened, desperate but calming. "Please just listen to me. Look at this." I brought the phone closer, showing him the video once more. "You think they care about you. They will toss you aside the moment you become useless. You're worth more to them with a pocket full of drugs than as their friend." He fell silent, staring at the screen but refusing to look me in the eye. I watched as incredulity flickered across his face, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of realization beneath his bravado. But as soon as that thought crossed my mind, he slammed his fists into the wall beside him, sending the dull, lifeless sounds echoing through the empty space. "Stop, just stop," he shouted, his voice cracking. "You don't know anything about loyalty. You think you understand me. You think I'm some fragile thing that needs saving. You have no idea what I've sacrificed." I stepped back, taken aback. The anger rolling off him nearly knocked me over. What had I done? Had I pushed him away too far, too fast? "I know more than you think," I replied, trying to steady my voice, but the tremors betrayed my growing unease. "I know you're scared. I know you don't want to admit that you're drowning. But I'm here, Nathan. I am here to help you, regardless of your past." The walls of the warehouse felt impossibly close now. The air was thick with tension, static buzzing wildly as unresolved feelings hung between us. He spun around, the rage and fear painted on his features. "Help me." "By dragging me back home, back to mediocrity." His sneer was laced with venom, words meant to cut me, and I felt the heat of frustration surge through me. This was family. This was blood. How had it come to this? "I thought you wanted something better for us." I burst out, my own frustration spilling over. I moved closer, driven by the aching bond that still existed beneath the volatile exchanges. "Nathan, we were supposed to be a team. You were my brother. If you keep pushing everyone away, you risk losing everything, and I can't let that happen." The tears pooled in my eyes, startling me. "I can't lose you, not like this." His expression shifted, the bravado peeling back like an old painting. For a moment, vulnerability washed over him. "You don't understand, Mia. I feel like I'm in too deep." I knew the admission I had sought was finally within reach. "I can't just walk away." "Yes, you can." I nearly pleaded, my heart racing faster as hope ignited within me. "This is your chance to break free, to choose differently. You have the power to say no, but you have to want it." I could see the conflict raging behind his once calm exterior. And just then, my phone buzzed like an intruder interrupting our fragile moment. I glanced down at the screen. The name that appeared sent a cold chill down my spine. It was one of his associates, the kind of name that lingered like stale smoke, a reminder of everything Nathan was tangled in. "What do you want?" I muttered, barely aware of Nathan's growing unease beside me as I silenced the call. "Who was that?" Nathan stiffened, his focus snapping back to me, eyes wide with an edge of panic. There was a twinge of fear in his voice. "Who calls you while we're talking?" "Nobody," I said hastily, dismissing the idea of any more distractions. That doesn't matter. What matters is you, Nathan. What are you willing to do to pull yourself from this? I needed him to hear me. This was the moment to strip the layers off the facade he was desperately clinging to. He clenched his fists, tilting his head back defiantly, but the tension reflected a deep-seated battle I could see etched in the shadows beneath the surface. I don't know, he almost whimpered, sounding younger. I just don't know if I can walk away. There is so much left for you, I replied, my voice trembling. Don't you see? You could help people, change lives, be the person you wanted to be. We could have our family back. My heart shattered a little more every time I thought of that simple word, family, hanging between us like a faint glimmer in the dark. As silence enveloped us again, I took a step closer. I won't stop fighting for you, I said quietly, hoping to ignite some flicker of recognition. But you have to be willing to step out of this darkness. If you fall, I won't be able to save you unless you reach for me. I could see a flicker of recognition in his eyes, a battle played out across his face. The past hung like a specter between us. The promise of what could be was dancing on a razor's edge. He finally seemed to waver, the tension diffusing just a fraction as thoughts collided and collided violently yet silently. Can we escape this? He whispered at last, the fight leaving his voice. Together, I murmured, filled with a combination of hope and trepidation. But you have to trust me. At that moment, I saw the internal storm soften into something that might resemble clarity, even if just a spark. The walls of the warehouse loomed behind us, a cold, unyielding structure holding our fears, our doubts, and our unresolved past. With my heart pounding, I reached out, cautiously offering my hand. Let's leave this behind, I urged, desperately wishing we could begin anew. He hesitated, glancing down at my outstretched palm, trapped at the junction between the dangerous allure of the life he had chosen and the possibility of salvation. Okay, he said slowly, hesitantly reaching for my hand. And in that moment, I grasped the fragile thread binding us together, the flicker of hope igniting as we stood at the precipice of reclaiming our lives. The buzzing shadows loosened their grip ever so slightly, and I could almost feel the walls breathing along with us as we prepared to fight against the darkness and reach for the light. Emotions swirled like a tempest as the reality of what lay ahead sank in. I felt utterly exhausted, and hopelessness seeped into my bones while Nathan's rage morphed into uncertainty. The air was thick, stifling, heavy with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. I could hardly breathe. Each rapid heartbeat echoed in my ears, drowning out the voice of reason whispering that I should tread carefully. How had it come to this? Who do you think you are, Mia? He spat, his voice shaking with fury and shame mingling together. It pierced through the fog, forcing me into clarity. His eyes flashed with an anger that was like fire, but beneath it I detected the flicker of something softer, fear, confusion, perhaps even pain. I felt my heart quaking, torn between the sharpness of his words and the affection lingering from our shared past. I am trying to save you, I shouted back, desperation and love intertwining in my voice like a delicate dance. My throat burned with the intensity of the moment. Can't you see that? You are tearing us apart. The weight of that moment hung heavy, tangled in the air around us. It ignited a fire within me, a strange mixture of courage and terror. I wanted nothing more than to pull him back from the edge, because losing him to this chaos felt as unbearable as losing a piece of myself. His indecision crackled in the atmosphere like static electricity. For just a heartbeat, I saw a flicker of regret in his eyes, a ghost of the brother I once knew and loved fiercely. It was as if all the memories we had shared came flooding back, wrapping around us in a bittersweet embrace. This is not me, he said softly, like the last whisper of a dying. I could almost see the light dimming within him, the old Nathan flickering like a flame in a windstorm. He was lost. The fierce wind of rebellion that once fueled him was now threatening to extinguish his very essence. Even in the depths of this chaos, a connection sparked between us, a reminder of what family was supposed to mean, a bond forged in love, laughter, and countless ordinary moments that felt extraordinary in the rearview mirror of memory. Please, Nathan, I urged, my voice trembling with emotion. This chaos will destroy us all. I need you back. My eyes burned with unshed tears, the weight of my love heavy on my heart. I could feel the old Nathan within him wrestling against the turbulent storm of anger and despair that had taken hold. He was more than just a victim of circumstance. He was my brother, and I was willing to fight for him. Just as I thought he might grasp the lifeline I was offering, doubt clouded his view again. The fire in his eyes flickered, leaving only shadows behind. I felt my hope begin to dim alongside his confidence. It was like watching a flower wilt under scorching heat, helpless to intervene. I could almost reach out and catch him, but something deeper held him back. Then my phone buzzed loudly against the impending silence, shattering our moment like glass hitting upon concrete. The authorities had arrived. Dread crept all over my body like ice water, freezing me in place as realization washed over me. This was it. I was about to force his hand, and I was terrified of what that could mean for him and for us. "I have no choice," I whispered, my voice trembling as I turned my phone around to show him the footage. The screen illuminated our faces, providing a fragile shield against the darkness closing in all around us. As the images blinked to life, I could see the flicker of realization washing over him like a tidal wave. The video captured the moment he lost his way, the descent into a world of choices he had made that now haunted him. It drowned his anger in a swell of regret bloating within his chest, the dam about to burst. Tears blurred my vision as I whispered again, "This is your chance, brother. You can still choose to turn this around." Every word was a thread of hope, woven into a tapestry of desperation. It was a fracture in time. I could see him reconciling the love for our family and the choices he had made. He was at a crossroads where every decision mattered more than ever. It wasn't just about me anymore, it was about salvaging what remained of us. The tension shifted, stretching thin like an elastic band about to snap. Nathan's chest heaved as he took a ragged breath, his expression tumultuous and pained. I wanted to reach out, to touch him, to remind him of the bond we shared. But in that pregnant pause, I realized that I was no longer in control. As the seconds ticked away, dread seeped back into my bones, chilling me to the core. Then, just as those thoughts settled heavily in my mind, the door swung open and the authorities burst in. A chaotic whirlwind of shouting voices and flashing lights flooded the room. Disruption rose like a thunderhead, scattering any calm I had managed to summon. My heart raced painfully, a wild drum in my chest as I involuntarily stepped backward, feeling the chaos invade our intimate moment. "Nathan, step away from her." A voice crackled through the chaos, sharp and commanding. I glanced toward Nathan, my chest tightening at the sight of his face. The flicker of hope that had ignited just moments before was quickly turning into a mirror for his panic. Fear radiated off him like heat from a flame, and his indecision felt like an electric shock shooting through the air. His gaze darted toward me and then to the officers, uncertainty flooding his expression. "Wait," I shouted, tiny fragments of desperation weaving into my voice. "Listen," but the authority figures were closing in, their resolve unyielding, their presence a dark cloud looming over our moment of reckoning. "Mia, get away," Nathan yelled, the primal instinct to protect binding him to a life he no longer recognized. "Do this," I cried out, feeling my chest tight in a panic squeeze. With every second that passed, Nathan wrestled inwardly. The authority figures continued to approach with tactical precision, their movements methodical like a well-rehearsed play. Yet in that swirl of chaos, Nathan looked toward me, a world of emotions swirling in his gaze, both beautiful and horrific. His lips parted as if he were about to speak, to make a choice, but time was slipping away. "Don't let them take me," he pleaded, desperation seeping into his voice, a last-ditch call for help that echoed through my heart. "I am trying to help you," I shouted, the weight of my words pressing down on him like a tangible force, an urgency threading through my voice. I could feel the tears stream silently down my cheeks, a reflection of my fear and hope colliding in a tempest of emotion. "I need you to trust me," I whispered, longing to bridge the vast chasm that had formed between us. The authorities hovered closer, their armor-clad presence threatening to engulf the last remnants of our connection. "Nathan, this is your choice. You can still fight back. We can still do this together." I reached out a trembling hand, begging him to see that I was right here with him. But just as the pieces began to fall into place, just as that vein of hope sparked bright within me, Nathan looked toward the authorities, and suddenly everything shifted. Moment teetered on the brink, and panic surged through me as I realized what was happening. I can't do this," he stammered, the words catching in his throat like stones. With every inch they advanced, the space around us felt more and more confined. My heart twisted painfully in my chest as I faced the sobering reality. Would he let the chaos swallow him whole? Would he accept the help he desperately needed? Time seemed to freeze, hanging perilously as we navigated the cusp of this iterated tragedy. His eyes searched mine, the world spinning faster around us. I waited, my breath held, praying that he would remember the love that had once knit us together, that invisible thread that could still bind us even amidst the storm. I stood there in the dimly lit room, the air thick with tension as my brother faced his reckoning. The shadows played tricks on the walls, just like the secrets we had buried beneath years of pain. Nathan's defiance had crumbled, revealing the raw, aching vulnerability beneath it. I could hardly believe this was the same person who had been a storm in our lives just weeks before. Today, however, that tempest had given way to a downpour, one filled with regret, longing, and sorrow. His voice quivered like a fragile leaf caught in a sudden gust of wind, barely above a whisper. I can't keep doing this to you, to Mom, to Dad. I messed up so badly. Those words drifted through the air, heavy with meaning, and struck me deep within my chest, igniting a resonance I had long since buried. I wanted to rush to him, to wrap my arms around his trembling frame and console him, but something held me back. Perhaps it was the fear of making him retreat back behind his wall. Instead, I focused on his teary eyes, those familiar pools of deep brown that once sparkled with mischief now swamped with tears of a realization, so stark it shattered the illusions we both had built around our lives. I could feel the bonds between us, thick and gritty, straining against the weight of what he had done. The quiet chaos of his admission filled the space between us, a silent plea that surged with shame and vulnerability. I remained silent, struck by the gravity of the moment. The authority figures crowded in behind him, a harsh reminder of the consequences looming ahead. Their presence was like a cold tide washing over the warm shore we had attempted to build through family dinners and game nights. But as Nathan stood before us, lost and cracked open, my heart softened toward him. I silently hoped he could grasp that beneath the surface, I wouldn't just wait for him to drown in his guilt. I wanted him to see a way back to the shore. Slowly, he broke down further, not fully aware of how those tears represented more than just regret. They signified the fragility of family ties that can fray and tangle, but can also be woven tightly back together. I didn't think I was hurting you all. I thought I could handle everything, he murmured, and I could hear the tremors of fear threading through his voice. I could feel the immense weight of his admission pressing down on him, and strangely, it pressed down on me as well. You thought you could handle everything. I wanted to lash out, but instead I let the words slip softly. You thought we wouldn't notice the way you were disappearing, living in that dark shadow. Nathan, it hurt us. You don't have to do this alone, we love you. But look at the mess I made. He exhaled, his self-loathing palpable as it paralyzed him. I lost myself in so much more. Nothing can erase that. I noticed his hands clenching at his sides, and I longed to reassure him that while the past bore wounds, there was still a path forward. Before I could reply, he drew a deep breath, his resolve building like a flickering candle light fighting against the overwhelming night. I will turn myself in, he declared, and those words hung in the air, shimmering with their own gravity. And just like that, a wave of relief washed over me, so profound it felt like a cooling balm across a fevered brow. I had been riding on a roller coaster of emotions so tumultuous, but there it was, a sense of clarity finally breaking through the fog. Are you really sure? I asked, needing him to reassure me of his intentions, and his determination mirrored in his gaze was my anchor. It's going to be hard. But if this is truly what you want, what you need, I could only pray he realized he wouldn't be facing it alone. We can help you, our family can heal. I know it won't be easy, he responded, his voice steadier now. But I have a choice to make. I need to face this, Mia. I have to. I am tired of hurting the people I love. His look shifted, finally free from the storm of defiance. I watched as a resolution flickered in his eyes, a flame I thought had been extinguished for good. The authorities moved swiftly. They hadn't lingered, merely silent watchers during this emotionally charged scene. I could hear the shuffle of their boots on the wooden floor, the quiet murmurs exchanged between them, but at that moment, they were the background to the symphony of emotions swirling within our small, fractured family. I felt a shift within me, a bittersweet blend of sadness and hope. As Nathan stepped toward them, leaving the doorway open to redemption, there was a sudden clarity that hugged my chest tightly. My heart raced, not with triumph but with liberation. This was not vengeance, it was a reclamation, a resurrection born out of despair. I had fought for my family, not for revenge but for our love, and somehow, against all odds, it had worked. That night, as Nathan was taken away, I felt the breath I didn't realize I had been holding finally escape my lips. It felt as if at long last, I could breathe once again. The darkness that had suffocated me for so long, the despair tied to secrecy and pain, began to dissipate like fog under the rising sun. The heaviness that had lived in our home, like a palpable entity, ebbed and flowed until it was gone, and I could feel the light of hope filter through the cracks. Days turned to weeks, and as time moved in its often relentless rhythm, I watched Nathan confront his demons, tethered to both the past that haunted him and the future full of possibility. Family therapy sessions became a norm for us, awkward at first, filled with stumbling words and hesitations. But each time, we forged another layer of our bond. The supportive presence of our therapist often acted as a gentle nudge, coaxing forth emotions we had left unattended for far too long. Each session, Nathan opened like a flower, revealing fragments of himself we had lost to addiction's dark grasp. He faced the unvarnished truths of his past with a courage I had never witnessed before. "I was scared to let you in," he admitted in one session, his voice a cautious whisper. "I didn't want you to see the ugly parts of me. But we needed to see them. We needed to understand what you were facing," I said softly. "Hiding only deepens the hurt. You taught us that today, didn't you?" I sensed the shift in his posture, as if he were standing a little taller, beginning to understand that vulnerability was not synonymous with weakness. And during those moments, amidst the sometimes chaotic, cacophonous therapy atmosphere, laughter began to bloom anew in our home. I remember a day, not long after one of our sessions, where I'd brought home takeout, not just any takeout, but his favorite, spicy Asian noodles. I left them in the middle of the kitchen table, the sweet and savory scents wafting through the space, igniting memories of family dinners past. I ambled casually outside to grab drinks, and by the time I stepped back in, Nathan was already sitting there at the table, grinning. "It's about time you brought home the goods," he said, his tone playful and familiar. That glimmer of humor resurfacing, after seemingly vanishing for an eternity, struck something deep within me. "You think you can handle my appetite?" I chuckled, settling into the chair across from him. "You wish you could handle it," I teased back, the banter flowing as naturally as if no rift had ever existed between us. It was an unspoken acknowledgement that we were stitching the fabric of our family back together, a piece at a time. Weeks transformed into months, and as laughter filled the corners of the house once again, I noticed my mother beginning to light up. Her eyes, once dulled with worry, sparkled with shards of hope. The first time I noticed it, she was watering the potted plants in the living room. Their green leaves soaked up the sunlight pouring in through the window, and there she stood, humming softly, an old tune that felt nostalgic and inviting. It shocked me and infused fresh energy into my spirit to see her smile again. "Hey, you're happy," I said, walking up beside her. "What's got you all sunshiny?" "I heard from your brother today," she said, a soft smile curving her lips. "He's doing so much better. The therapist said he's making real progress." For a second, my heart nearly soared, a weight lifting from my chest that I had not realized I had been carrying. "It is so good to hear that," I replied, my voice choked with emotion. "His strength inspires all of us. I can feel the changes already, in how we are rebuilding together." My mother glanced at me, wiping a stray tear from her cheek, and a shared understanding flowed between us. "See, Mia, it's about restoration. We can heal just as he is. Thank you for showing him that path." As Nathan grew stronger, I understood my role in our healing journey was not just about shining light on hidden truths but nurturing the connections that bind us, the kind that pushes back against shadows. Each smile we shared, each time we stood together, bolstered that bond. We learned to communicate openly, even the difficult topics that had previously been edged around with silence. The courage to express our truths fortified our family in ways I had never thought possible. Looking back at the whirlwind of emotions that had consumed us, I concluded that restoration, rather than destruction, was the strongest form of revenge I could wield. Everything we had gone through had led us to this moment, a moment full of hope, full of promise. I stood united with my family at last, ready to embrace whatever the future held. Together, we were stronger than ever. Together, we had defeated despair, and I carried with me the firm conviction that love fuels the most potent transformations of all.